Hi class, it's Bill Berry, resuming with our arrays sequence in our IT 102 Intro to Programming with JavaScript. We started in the last video talking about how the basics of arrays work, what are they good for, why do we like them. We also looked at how you can create an array and access its elements. That was a great start. We need to learn some more things about how they can be more dynamic, so let's take a peek at that. And we also want to look at starting at some powerful things you can do like sorting, right? So we'll do that, and probably need one more video to cover all the topics, but at least we'll be getting close. So let's jump down to where we were and resume. One of the things that we know we often want to do is to add and remove elements at runtime. Sometimes we know the complete list of items that we want to deal with ahead of time, but sometimes we don't, right? Sometimes we want the user to input them, or they're going to come from some other source. So let's jump back and let's talk about how we might do that in our code here. Remember last time I actually just added another one here. I added Lupe to the list, but let's say that Dakota and Lupe are not known at this time, right? Let's say that we don't know those right now, but maybe they come in through user input later, right? We prompt or something like that. So what can we do if we need to later add things to the list? Well, there are going to be some methods that let us do that. Methods means we're going to put a dot and then we're going to put a word after it. The two most popular ones you're going to use is push, right, to add something to the list. And then in parentheses, you're going to say what you want to add to the list. Dakota, right? I'm going to add Dakota to the list. Now pushing is going to go on to the end of the list, and we're going to talk about where these words come from because they don't necessarily make sense, but we're going to push Dakota onto the end of the list, right? It's not going to go at the beginning. That name's going to go at the end. So I can push on Dakota, and I can push on another one. In this case, I'm going to push Lupe. Right? So you can push those items onto the list, and those will go at the end, so that my list at this point is going to look just like it was before. Pat, Chris, Parker, Dakota, Lupe. I'll prove that to you. The loop already takes into account the length of the list, so I don't have to change anything there. So let me save and run and prove to you, oh, and we don't need this document.write. Well, yeah, let's just comment that out for the moment, and then let's run that and prove that it works. There we go. There's all of our names. All right. So let's close that. All right, so if you need to add things to the end of the list, you can do that. The other thing that you can do is that you can remove students from the end of the list, and that uses the word pop. Again, we'll talk about why in a minute. But if I say students.pop, I don't have to put a parameter because I'm not giving a name, I'm taking one off. Right? If I pop a student off the list, in this case, Lupe goes. Right? Lupe is removed from the end of the list. Now, if I want to, let me prove to you that that's working. I'll save it, Control S, I'll run it in Firefox. There we go, no Lupe, right? Lupe is not on the list. The other thing that you can do is if you want to know what that is, because again, sometimes that's come from user input, so you don't necessarily know what name is there. If you want to save it, you can. I can create a variable called popped student, let's say, and assign it to the result of the students.pop. If you do that, it's going to pop the student off the end of the list and return it here so you can store it in a variable or do something else with it. So Lupe is going to be here in this variable called popped student. All right. So if I run this now, you'll see the list is just Pat, Chris, Parker, and Dakota. Now let's jump back to the slides and let's take a peek. There are words that you can use to modify the ends of the list, and that's pushing and popping. You can also do things at the start of the list. It's less common, but you can certainly do it. You can add things at the front, and you can remove things at the front. And there's examples here of how that works. Now, where do those words come from? Because they seem kind of specific and kind of odd, especially the push and pop. Let's understand those. The reason that we do this is because lists or arrays can be used to implement some interesting things called data structures where you're storing a bunch of data, and there's two concepts that are very common, stacks and queues. The example of a stack is that of cafeteria trays. You always get a wet cafeteria tray. Why? Because when they clean them, when they bring in clean ones, they put them on the top of the stack, and then you take the clean one from the top of the stack. So you get the wet one because that's the freshest ones, right? You never get to these, right? Unless you have a very busy day in the cafeteria, nobody ever gets this tray, right? New ones come in here, and you take them from the same end of the list. That's a stack. The idea of a queue is like people in line at the post office, right? All these people are waiting. I don't know, they have no mail. That's a problem, but whatever. They're waiting in line, and a queue works differently. The queue is first come, first served. So here they come in and are taken off the same end of the list, but here new people come on to the end of the list, but they are served, they come out of the queue on this end of the list. So there are different words from that. Now the word shift and yeah, you can push things onto the end, but you have to shift them off the front. So if you think of it, the line is shifting, right? When the line shifts, this person's going to be served and go off the list. So maybe that'll help you understand the shifting. And unshifting, you're sort of pushing someone out of being served back into line. You go stand in line, I didn't call you yet. So that unshifts the list. It shifts it in reverse. So maybe those can kind of help you a little bit to understand where they came up with these wacky words, right? Now, another thing that we want to do with arrays that's super easy in JavaScript is to sort them. So let's go look at our list, and we'll actually do some code with this. Let's say that we have all these people on our list now. All these students are on the list. I'm going to not pop off a student. I'm going to leave the list exactly as it is here. But if I want to sort these into alphabetical order, it could not be easier, right? Could not be easier. All you have to do is give the name of the array and then call the sort method. All right, you just have to say the name of the array dot sort and put the parentheses because it's a method, so you do that. When you do that, it's going to sort alphabetically. That's going to be lowest to highest alphabetical order, right? And that's all you have to do. Be aware though that this does actually sort the list. It moves things around in the list, so your list is altered. If you cared about the original order, you'd have to go figure out some way to retain that list, to remember the list, and that takes some thinking. It's not obvious. But if you sort the list, then it's going to be alphabetized. So notice our names are not in particularly alphabetical order here, but now that we've asked for the sort and we go through the list and print it, it ought to be sorted now, right? Here we go, sorted in nice alphabetical order. So it could not be easier to do that. The one thing to keep in mind is if you have put numbers in here, it's going to treat numbers as if they are alphabetized. It's going to alphabetize them like they're text. So you're going to get some kind of weird stuff where 1000 is going to sort after the number 1, and then the number 2 is going to come after 1000 because it's alphabetical, not numeric. So lists get kind of odd with numbers, and that's sort of a topic that we don't have time to really investigate. How you might sort those things in actual order is something that is a little tougher to do, and the syntax is a little bit beyond the scope of this class. It can be done. The other thing is sometimes you want to sort in reverse alphabetical order, right? So we're going to talk about that, but first let's start and talk about the method that kind of gets us going on that. Instead of sort, let's use the method called reverse. Reverse does not sort, it reverses, right? It simply reverses what's ever in the list, and it's going to be completely opposite of what it was before. So if our list here is Pat, Chris, Parker, Dakota, Lupe, after we reverse it, we expect it to be Lupe, Dakota, Parker, Chris, and Pat, completely the opposite of what it was before. Let's save that. Let's run it so you see. I'll just go refresh. Boom. So now they are in exactly the opposite order that they were at the beginning. So that should give us an idea. If we want to sort the list into reverse alphabetical order, right, we can start by doing students.sort, and then we can do students.reverse. This puts it into sorted order. This will then take it and reverse that order, so it is in reverse alphabetical order. If I save and run here, you'll see exactly that, right? The largest name is Pat alphabetically, and it goes down to Chris. Right? So that gives us some pretty cool ideas about what's going on, right? Now, there are ways, this might be a little mind-blowing, I'm just going to show you that this is going to work. All right, if it bothers you, if it boggles your mind, then don't worry about it. Let's make sure I save it and run it and that it works. Sure enough, it does. This says take students and then sort it, and then take the result of that thing and reverse it. So you can keep chaining these things on where you finish the first thing and then call another method on it, which is going to continue to manipulate that array. But I know that's a little bit odd, and I'm not expecting you to care about that. It looks a little bit strange, but it does exist. So that's some good information about how you can easily sort an array, and you can reverse its order as well. So that's good stuff. Excuse me. All right, so next thing that we're going to do is just introduce some challenges. You should have the ability to do this kind of challenge now. Oh, I didn't realize that was a GIF, so oh well, the little car animates, that's nice. Okay, so you can write a challenge. You can do a little thing like this where you add some favorite cars and alphabetize them and sort them and display it. This is a good challenge to do to kind of make sure that you understand how things go with an array. The next challenge would be to do the same program, but create a function called display array and prove to yourself that you can pass an array to a function, right? A function can be accepted as a parameter just like any other thing can. So this is another great thing that you can do to prove that this stuff works. Now, I do want to show you a couple other things in terms of some useful array methods, but let's pick that up in a final video in this series. So thanks for watching this one, and continue in the next if you want to see those interesting array methods and some examples.